Hello. So this lesson is entitled "What is Conflict?" and maybe we should start with a little explanation about why conflict is relevant to a course on collaboration. Um, it comes out of uh, years of mediation work, dealing with people that are in conflict, and fundamentally seeing that the definition for me of conflict is when we're not connected. And being not connected, if that's our definition, then we need to understand something about conflict. We don't need to, but it's helpful for us to know something about conflict, and the dynamics of conflicts. And one of the insights of Marshall Rosenberg, and I think it goes back to others, Carl Rogers, one of the people that influenced Marshall Rosenberg's work, and also Fisher and Urey getting to yes. This had such a huge impact around the world. As I've gone around the world, I see that people, lawyers particularly, but other people have been very much influenced by the ideas in this book, Getting to Yes. It was a 1983 book that kind of really shifted. It was just about a few years after I'd started practicing law, and I had this impact on me in that. And also I've done some looking at, there's maybe that it went back to 1975, some seminal paper that looked at thinking of conflict as a property right. It's like who owns the conflict. But in any case, it's this idea that that the way Marshall Rosenberg talked about it is the conflict is about differences in strategies, and that we can get wedded to our strategies, our particular approach to meeting our needs. And so understanding what our needs are and being able to in a sense get back underneath and understand what's behind our particular choice of strategy can help kind of loosen that attachment to the particular strategy, can loosen it up. And that if I can understand and appreciate what the other person's needs are, and then vice versa, they can do the same thing. So part of understanding the other person's needs isn't related to this strategy idea. It's just that I understand them in some sort of unconscious way. It's a way that using needs is a way I can talk to my unconscious, and that I can see and understand what is going on with another person if I can have some idea what the needs are in the situation. So that's this fundamental idea that goes throughout this course of if you surface the needs on this one side, the surface the needs on the other, or for each of the people involved. And then in so doing, you create this empathetic connection, and then you can also be more creative in generating strategies to solve whatever your conflict is. And so that's why I'm talking about conflict. I'm talking about conflict because that's, if you're not connected, then you're in conflict by the definitions that I'm using. Conflict is also generated by our history, and this research from the 1990s in San Diego, California, the adverse childhood experiences has had a huge impact on our understanding of conflict, and not just conflict, but our understanding of the influence of adverse childhood experiences to create these unconscious, or often not conscious, that we're not consciously aware of them, motivators that generate habits and patterns of conduct that are dysfunctional and that create outcomes that are not what we want. And that if we can stop, if we can realize that, become aware of these moments when we're again doing something that we don't like and that we're pretty confident we're going to make a mess of and create outcomes we're going to regret. So if I can pause at that moment, this is another incredible benefit of this approach, of this particular approach of nonviolent communication, is that I can stop and then I can choose. I can be choiceful. And by doing that over and over again, and by connecting with the needs, there's an opportunity to heal. I think that in fact, in psychology and psychiatry, that is the healing moment, when a person can understand this kind of fundamental nonverbal kind of aha of, oh, that may be where this is coming from in me, and that I can choose to do it differently, even though I've had this experience in the past that generates this pattern of conduct in my part, so that we can fundamentally change patterns. Also, when we have these kind of patterns, it results in the dehumanizing of the other person, and that, of course, is a age-old technique in wars to get your usually young men, but to fight and to have support in the home front, to otherize the other person. And this same dynamic happens in the workplace and happens. So we go around and we tell people the story of the latest thing that we're upset about, and so we're colluding. We try to get them to collude with us in our enemy images of these other people. So when we begin to see these dynamics, we begin to see how there can be ways for us to influence the environment we're in by not participating and affirmatively, like empathizing is one thing, but we can also express. But to modify and do it differently, to see if we can have a different outcome when people are colluding with each other about their enemy images of the other people. So one of the ways, so let me just get at it this way, that in the workplace, we are creating this workplace moment by moment by what we say, what we do, and what we say and what we don't say and don't do. And this awareness that I'm part of creating this collective, whether it's a 1 or 2 person operation or it's tens of thousands of people, that it may be harder to see the influence that we have on the 10,000 person organization, but nonetheless, we continually have influence on the people around us about how we're responding to them and what we initiate with them. And so if I can be choiceful in acting in alignment with my values, that will have impact on the people around you. And then you can begin paying attention to your interactions with people, and you can conceive of your interactions as an ongoing opportunity to practice these skills that you're developing. And that framing it and thinking of it that way also can provide you with wonderful benefits of freeing you up of being afraid of what the response of some other person, because you can go, oh, this is, I'm practicing, this person didn't like what I did there. Okay, what could I do to try to remedy that, to create connection in this situation? And somehow or another, that framing it that way has really been helpful to me and to others. So I suggest that too. Um, um, so how do I go about changing myself? I go about changing myself in a very simple kind of way. First, I need to be aware of when I'm either beginning to act out of the stress response, because typically in the kind of day-to-day interactions, we don't need to be in the stress response. It's not evolutionarily beneficial to us to be in the stress response. Um, so just to be aware we're in the stress response, and then to choose our conduct and not act out of these habits. Also to become more and more aware of these adverse childhood experiences and the habits that have grown out of that, and habits that have grown out of any other conduct that you, so it's about reflecting upon your conduct, and you can see, and that's, we'll get to that, but that's debriefing for resilience. You debrief, and then you develop this personal awareness of, oh, when I do these and act in certain ways, I don't like the outcomes. And that if that happens again, I want to do this in response. That's an if then agreement with yourself. And then you, first few times, you probably are going to run right through that and not wake up and then you'll beat yourself up, and hopefully you'll go into debrief and you can get your needs and stop beating yourself up, and that'll be a relief in and of itself. But also it'll increase the likelihood that next time you do the if then, that if I do it in this way, and you do it in that way, that you'll wake up sooner, and you'll wake up soon enough to implement the strategy that you had planned, to implement the dialogue that you may have practiced. And so then you turn your life into an opportunity to practice in all the interactions that you have. You turn them into practice. And that's a way that you can change your habits. It's an ongoing process of preparing for the next conversation so that you can be attuned and alert to yourself, to how you want to conduct yourself, how you want to wake up. And then you can practice actually doing that and actually do some rewiring of your nervous system by practicing and having a person deliver the trigger to you. And then you debrief and debrief several times a day of all the things that have gone well and that have gone wrong. So that's a kind of a short version of the big picture for the process that this training is trying to offer to you. And I wish you the best in your doing this, and I look forward to the next video.